If x was an integer, it would work the same way actually, convert to int. So x equals convert to double, read the line. Then we ask them for the second number, same thing for the y variable. Now we have some options for them: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, which we're going to tell them to enter A, S, M, or D. There's the I variable we created. We'll set that to whatever they enter, A, S, M, or D. So now essentially what we have is an x variable with a double, a y variable with a double, and an I variable with their selection. We're going to use that information in a switch statement. Switch is like an if-else statement, but it works a little differently. We're going to pass in I, and right now I represents whatever they had entered, and what a switch does, it goes through case by case until it finds a match, and then we put in breaks to tell it to stop trying to find a match and stop running code from the switch. So right now we're going to pass in I, which is whatever they entered. If they entered, let's say they entered M for multiplication, the switch statement's going to take that I, check it, and see if it's an A. Nope. It'll just switch down to the next one. S, nope, switch down to the next one. M, yup. This is where that Z double right now holds no value. So we're going to take our X double, our Y double, multiply them, and that's what the Z value is going to be. Now the multiplication, we can't use X because that's a letter. We use it for other things typically. So in most programming languages you'll use the star for multiplication. And then we just give them some script to let them know the result. You can use variables with your console write lines. You just have to put a plus in between your quoted output and your variables. So don't forget those pluses in there or it won't work. So we're going to tell them x times y equals z, and then just a period to make it look nice. So we do that for each of them. We have some addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Use a / for division, again in all programming languages. Now what if they didn't enter, zoomed out a little too far, what if they didn't enter A, S, M, or D? What if they meant to hit D and accidentally hit F? Well, we're going to have a default. All switches have a default if none of the cases match, and that's going to check an error for us. So we're going to beep at them again, let them know they screwed up, and then we just call the arithmetic method again and essentially starts the process over. Alright, so say they did everything successfully, they picked two numbers, they did the math. We got to make sure the program doesn't just close or doesn't leave them on a cliffhanger not knowing what to do next. So we have another class called open or close. We're going to create an object of that class, and in that class we have a choice method. So we're going to run that. So let's go to that class and see what that does. Here's our open or close class, our choice method. What that does, first it creates an object of the top class. Remember that one from before. We have a string called input. Ask the user if they want to run it again. And now that I'm going through this, I believe this is the same as the last tutorial in the PowerPoint. So input equals console readline, whatever they enter. If input is Y, it's going to clear the screen to make it neater. Call the options method of the top class, essentially starting the program over again. If they enter anything but Y, we're going to thank them for using the program. Just give them some exit scripts. Press enter to exit. A read line so it stays open and waits for them to enter something one more time, which should just be the enter button. And then environment. We have our main method. We have a top class create an object of that class. Call the top method, which does this. Then we call the options method, which gives them some choices, takes what they enter, and this is the tricky part, it passes it into the select class. Now in that select class, it takes whatever they entered and makes it a string called first. Now we can use that, what they entered in the other class, the other method. There's some options for them. Math is going to be essentially the only one that does anything. So we're going to call that create an object of the math class. Call the arithmetic method. The arithmetic method goes through, gets two numbers from them, gets a selection from them, goes through a switch, which does whichever calculation they chose and lets them know the result. Once that's done, we call our choice method from our open or close class. Lets them know whether they want to have the program stay open or not, and that's it. Again, if you had any trouble with this, if you didn't get anything the first time, don't worry about it. You can watch this as many times as you need to. I encourage you to do so. Go ahead and pause it as you're going along and enter in your own code, experiment with things. If you get caught on something and it seems like it's just getting really frustrating, don't get upset. Just take a break, even if it's just for 5 minutes. You'll come back to the program with a fresh frame of mind, and sometimes you'll catch what you were doing wrong. People tend to beat themselves up and think, oh, my program isn't working, I made some huge mistake, and really it could be something very simple. You may have forgotten to do something like this, and now you're going to get an error, and this isn't going to work just because you forgot a semicolon. So usually when a program isn't working, it's not because you did something horrifically wrong, it's something small. So don't beat yourself up over it. And also make sure you get a toolbox with your external hard drive. Make a folder called toolbox, make a folder just for C# code, and then things that you just learned today, like the switch statement. Type into the toolbox, the syntax, switch, parentheses, your parameter, your condition. Make sure the whole thing is in your scope delimiter for the whole switch, case, then your condition in the parentheses, the breaks after each case, the default. Just type all of that into your toolbox. That way next time you have to make a switch statement, you don't have to go through all this again. You can just copy paste it out of your toolbox, and it saves you a ton of time with programming. Well, that's it for this tutorial. Hope you learned a lot, and see you next time. Welcome to our next